time now, but it's sort of ramped up in the last couple of years that we've really started working on this and progressing it. So I'm going to give you an update on that today. This is a bit of a jigsaw, so there are lots of moving pieces to this, and as we go through the process, these pieces will all come together, and I'll try and give you some reasoning behind why it's being done the way it is at the minute, and hopefully that will, sort of smooth them things out as we go through the process. But just remember, it is a big jigsaw that we are putting together, and at the end of it, we will have these new amazing qualifications that are going to professionalize the pest control industry for the good in the future. Now, there's lots of positives from creating a new framework, and some of these can be things like having regulated Ofqual qualifications that are all leveled correctly. So that's something we were really working on, that we have proper qualifications that sit in an Ofqual framework. Because they sit on an Ofqual framework, they will be looked after by somebody, and that is going to be the RSPH. So they will be the certificating body. So they'll sit on an Ofqual framework. RSPH will look after the suite of qualifications when they are finished. And when you get certificated, it will be through the RSPH. So they will do things like marking the exams and producing the certificates. So just like the level 2 award now, when you get the certificate, it will be a similar format. The names may change, things like that. The levels may change, but it will be the same process. Having these qualifications on a framework and looked after by RSPH means that it's open to all the centres. So this will allow for more training opportunities because more centres can deliver the qualifications, and it'll also give better accessibility. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you have a centre near you that's offering this qualification, you just need to go to that centre, rather than it being, just a few centres around the country that open it up to, not just their company, and it's open to everybody. So it just opens it up that we have more places that you can do exams. Now, the core work of the industry, we believe, is already at a level 3 standard. So the qualifications should reflect that we have a difficult job that is necessary and something that we have to do every day. And, the qualifications need to represent that level 3 standard that we're already working at, which is why this change and why we're working on these qualifications is coming about, just so it better represents what we do as an industry. We do need to move away from being fully qualified at level 2. The problem with that level 2 qualification is it's equivalent to a GCSE, and to professionalize an industry, we need to have professional qualifications that match what we do. So moving away from that is going to be a good thing for us. One of the big reasons for having new qualifications is discussions with people like the government, regulators, specifiers. By having qualifications that are understandable and they're easy to follow, and it's clear where people sit within the qualification framework. When we have them conversations, it just makes it really easy that it's understandable. At the minute, if you're trying to have a conversation with, say, the government, and you're talking about 3 level 2 qualifications that are all very different, it's hard for them to understand, and that's made it difficult in the past with doing things for the industry. So by having clear qualifications at clear levels, we can have clear conversations with external people around the pest control industry, and it helps them understand what we're doing better. One thing that we don't have currently is a lot of funding for qualifications in the pest control industry. So by having Ofqual regulated qualifications, it means that we can have certain areas for funding. I picked 2 out here that one of them recently, we've been talking a lot about military personnel and helping them with the transition from being in the armed forces to moving into sort of civilian lifestyle and jobs that come with that. And there is an option there that if we have a qualification framework and we have a level 3 qualification at our core, there is opportunities for funding there. The other thing we don't have in the industry is a apprenticeship. Now, you can call this anything you like. Apprenticeships is easy to understand, so I use that now. You could call it funded qualifications if you didn't want to call it apprenticeships, but we could have an apprenticeship. Now, an apprenticeship would work for new people coming into the industry. If we had the apprenticeship to a level 4, they could do all their qualifications from starting the industry to an advanced qualification on an apprenticeship scheme. And obviously that opens up a massive amount of funding as we go through. I'm going to stop waffling and I'm going to get into this. If you do have any questions, please put them to me. I am going to try and leave some time at the end for questions. But also, if you do have any questions and I don't get time, I will work on them and send you an answer to that question. And hopefully we'll clear up any sort of confusions or anything like that as we go through it. And it's the bigger picture. So if you ask a question today, it might not be something we have an answer to now, but in a couple of months' time, I might be able to come back and give you some more information on that. But if you don't ask the question, it might not crop up and we might miss that piece of information. So please ask questions. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So just to give you a bit of background on this, in 2020, we went out to consultation for the sector, and this was looking at the appetite for change. And it was also looking at areas that we might think would be beneficial to change for the industry as we move forward. So it was a bit of a soft touch, see what the industry wanted to do with qualifications, and if we did want to do anything, what them things might be. And from that consultation, we got a very clear message from the feedback. And then it was put into place to set this project moving forward. In 2021, there was a professionalism working group developed, and this outlined the proposal for the new framework, and it also laid out the plans on how we move forward and start putting the sort of foundations together and progressing, to future consultations and things like that. Now, this project is a BPCA project, and it is looked after as part of the Professional Standards Committee. But it's always been a project that's for the industry, made by the industry. The BPCA is just running the project, and our role in it is to do things like put together the working groups, liaise with stakeholders. We chair the meetings, which means that we can collect all the information back, and then we can collate all that information and then send it back out again to various people that need to see it. And as well as doing all that sort of background work, we also have a voice just like all the other stakeholders, and when we discuss the qualifications, we are obviously having input in that as well. But it's the same for everybody. Everybody has the same voice. Everyone has the same opportunity to voice their opinions through these meetings, so it is a very open way of doing it, and it just makes sure that we get the right qualifications and it works for everybody, and everybody has an opportunity to feed into them. There's also a significant work that goes on in the background. So the BPCA staff team are doing a lot of work around the qualifications it goes through. And this could be, let's say that hypothetically speaking, that if something came up and it was something like, let's have a prerequisite of 4 years experience in the pest control industry. We'd take that information, we'd go away, do some work, look at other industries, look at the pros and cons, and then we'd go back to the working group and feed that back in, have that discussion, and then it just better informs the sort of working group as to the pros and cons and things like that. So all that work goes on in the background, and then we take it back to the group and hope that when we have a discussion about it, we can then decide whether it's appropriate to have either a prerequisite or a recommended prerequisite, and we can fit it in the right category, just so we're not, making these qualifications impossible for people to do, if that makes sense. So just make it so the qualifications do work in the long run. In 2022, we went out to consultation again. This was done through regional forums, online presentations. We had a lot of one-to-one discussions, and there were some video presentations as well. And this was trying to speak to as many people as possible so we could get as many voices and as much information as possible as we start building this process. And as you'll see, there are a number of consultations that we've been through. And again, that's just to collect as much information as possible from the industry so we can get these qualifications right for the industry. In May 2023, we engaged with stakeholders, including MPCA, Lantra, and RSPH, and others, and this was to discuss the project as a whole. And at the time, there was a broad agreement on the concept of modernizing qualifications. So there was no detail in it at all. It was just this is what the industry has fed back to us in the consultations. This is the information that we have. If we move forward, can we all move forward and look at this as a whole for the industry? So that was all done in 2023. Also in 2023, we had a discussion with RSPH, and this was around the Ofqual requirements. So what do we need to do to have these qualifications on an Ofqual framework? And that could be, having progressive learning that's incorporated on any on or off framework qualifications. but it's all about recognizing competencies. So we had to do that work before we could sort of progress. May 24, we had an outline proposal for the level 3 qualification, and this was agreed within that professionalism working group. So that outlined how the qualifications would look in the future and things that we should and shouldn't include. That was sort of discussed in their meetings. In 2024, so this is recent, I imagine a lot of people remember this, we went out to consultation again with the industry, and this was looking at the next stage of the qualification. And again, from that sort of outline framework that was put together, we wanted feedback on it, and that feedback then allowed us to progress to coming up with a level 3 structure that the industry wanted as we move forward with the qualifications. And that agreement was put together in 2025. So the structure of the new qualification was agreed across the stakeholders at that point. It was then down to get into work on these and putting together specifications for the new level 3 qualifications. And that was where we put together a qualification development working group. Before I get to that, I just wanted to touch on some bits that came back from the feedback and the drivers for change that we're working with. So other industries, if we want to drive professionalism, we need to look at other industries and see what other industries, professional industries are doing. Now, other industries start their qualifications at level 3. So they leave school, they go into a industry, and one of the first qualifications they commonly do is a level 3 qualification. Now, we don't have that currently in pest control. We just have the 3 level 2 qualifications. So to bring us in line with other professional industries and drive professionalism for the sector, we need to make sure that we are falling in line with that sort of structure of qualifications so that the industry is looked at as a professional industry. I'm probably going to say professional a lot because it is a big driver for new qualifications. We need to be able to demonstrate knowledge and skills. So for a long time, we've had theory-based exams in an industry that's very practical, makes it quite difficult sometimes. So being able to demonstrate your sort of knowledge and skills is a big driver of this, and you'll see as we go through that that's been built into the new qualifications as well. So you won't just have to do written exams all the time. Some of it will be done through demonstrating your knowledge and skills. It may be hybrid, so some qualifications might have a bit of both, but it does open us to be able to assess knowledge and skills and not just assess written exams. And like I said, we're already working at a level 3 standard. So the new level 3 qualification is what you are doing day to day. We're not making it any harder. It's not going to be any more difficult. It's what you're doing every day because we already work at a level 3 standard. Just need the qualification to reflect that. Something else that came back from the consultation was progressive pathways. Now, we've got a sort of hodgepodge of qualifications at the minute that don't really sit on a framework, and it's very difficult to have a clear pathway through the industry. So having progressive qualifications works for everybody, whether you're just coming into the industry, whether you're already in the industry. It helps business owners. When we speak to specifiers, they have a clear understanding of what the qualifications are for the industry. And we can have them conversations, and everybody just understands that these are the qualifications, these are the levels, and this is how you progress through them qualifications. Something else that we wanted in the consultation, or came from the consultation, was to be recognised for the complexity of pest management. Now, to be a professional pest controller, you need to have a lot of information. There's a broad scope of pests that you're going to come across. We always in complex environments. Just mentioned with Sophie, one of the first sort of difficult cluster fly jobs I came across. The lady was going into labor. Like, it's not a normal situation. So we do have to, have a broad knowledge, be able to identify these pests and deal with them in a way successfully. And to be able to do that, you do need to be trained in them skills. Some other considerations that we had. So when we took all this information, we had to go away and think about other areas that we need to look at and make sure that we are falling in line with. Now, professional pest controllers, what is a professional pest controller's role is something we had to look at, and how do we best represent that with the new qualifications. So the new qualifications will best represent the industry and the technicians in their jobs. We do need to take into account global standards. So looking at things like the CEPA standard, the Global Framework for Pest Management standard, the National Occupational Standards, and seeing what requirements are in them. Some of it is not for this industry, but we can look at other industries and see what they're doing, and then we can hopefully build all that together so that we have a really good suite of qualifications. I mentioned opportunities for funding earlier. Again, something else that we don't currently have easy access to in the industry, and hopefully moving forward, we will have. And we need to look at industry standards. So a big thing when we started to look at what the qualifications would look like is industry standards. Now, we can work both ways. We have to be mindful of what's in the industry standard, but hopefully when we get the new qualifications, they'll be recognized by industry standards, and that will make it easier for us as well. But in them standards, they'll mention things like dealing with all pests with immediate action. Some will require sites to have an effective pest management program in place to cover all areas of the site. So that's internal and external, and all the range of pests that come involved with that. A preventative pest control program shall be maintained, cover all in all areas of the site, and any areas that's under that site's control. Competent pest control operators, that's something you see crops up in the standards quite a lot. So that's things like regular inspections by a competent person. And some will require things to be in place to reduce risk of contamination of pests like birds, rodents, and insects. And they may list what they may be. So the qualifications, as we started to look at them, it's clear that we're going to have broad qualifications, and we're going to have enough information in there so that if you do a qualification in the pest control industry, you can implement the correct IPM procedures for a broad range of pests that you're going to come across during your job. So that takes us on to these qualification levels that we have here. Now, as you can see, it's really clear. It's a progressive pathway. Currently, in the framework, with the qualifications that we've already got and the qualifications that we want to put into this, it's looking like we're going to have a level 1 to 5, which makes it really easy to understand. If we do need to have, say, a level 6 in the future, we can obviously build that. But at the minute, levels 1 to 5 is what we are working on, and we are going to hopefully have all these done and put together in due course, but that's what it's going to look like. Any new qualifications obviously will fall in line with this framework, and credits for currently qualified will also be put towards the new qualification framework. So if you've already got a qualification, or if you're going to sit a qualification in the next year or so, the credits from that qualification will come into this new qualification framework, and I can give you some more information on that, what it'll look like in a couple of slides' time. There will be a transition. So from what we currently have into the new framework, there will be a transition. We will build the qualifications so that everybody can transition if they want to. And this is a choice. So this is not a mandatory thing. If you are already qualified to a level 2 award in pest management, that qualification will still exist. We're not going to turn it off. Just a bit like the DIP 1 from the 80s or 90s. That qualification is still a recognized qualification. The RSPH qualifications that are currently out there will also do the same, as well as things like the Certified Advanced Technician exam. If you've already qualified, it will stay the same. It's your choice if you want to come onto the new framework. Majority of people we spoke to in the consultation process said that they would come onto the new qualification framework because they want to be recognized for the complexity of their job, and it gives you an option then to progress through the framework and gain new qualifications. And I will go through into detail about each of these and where the levels sit a little bit shortly. Now, we've started with a level 3 qualification. There are a number of reasons for this. But firstly, we've already got a level 2 safe use of rodenticide. It's not likely that that's going to change. It offers a almost license to practice in pest control because you have to do that qualification for crew requirements in 2026 or have CPD. So that qualification is already there. We don't need to do anything with it. It's not up for review for a few years. So we will carry on with the level 2. So that meant that we could start at level 3. The reason that we've started at level 3 and not anywhere else is because a significant portion of the pest control industry already sits on a level 2 award. So by having that level 3 in place, anyone that's already qualified can transition over. Anyone that's done a level 2 can then do their level 3, and it's all on the new framework. So it's a really good, strong starting point. And I'll get to what's coming after the level 3 at the end. So working groups. We have 3 working groups. These are mixed representatives drawing from experts across the sector and also includes sort of industry stakeholders as well. They are really good groups. Everyone has contributed in every meeting. The contribution has been amazing and it has really allowed us to progress with these qualifications. And that is all going very well. The general pest control group. So this is looking at the core qualification. We are going to take the vertebrate and invertebrates from the level 2 award and they will be built into the new level 3. And then there'll be a competency assessment, which is the new part of that qualification that will be added to it. The core group has had 2 meetings already. We have put together a draft specification and we will start working on things like assessments and things like that in the coming meetings. And the draft specification will be reviewed at each stage as we go through these meetings so that we're adding the right detail and it is working and we're not, making something that's not going to work. The bird group, so they had their first meeting, I think 2 weeks ago now. We've got all the information from that meeting. We've started to put it together and the BPCA and RSPH will now start pulling together a specification for the bird qualification. And then the wildlife group, they met this week. So the wildlife group have had their first meeting this week and the process will go through the same thing. We'll get all the information that we collected from that meeting and then start putting that into a draft specification. So at level 3, this is just in level 3, you will have 3 options for qualifications. If you do general pest control, you will do the general pest control qualification. If you are someone that just does birds or works in a bird proofing team, there is now going to be a qualification available to you that will be around birds. And if you do wildlife management, there will be a qualification for you at level 3 to do wildlife management. So that's going to sit at our core level. So professional pest controllers will be qualified to a level or can be qualified to a level 3 qualification. And these are your 3 options: general pest control, birds, or wildlife. So this is just a bit of a visual of where we're at for the level 3 and what the sort of process is. So I mentioned 2.1 and 2.2. So that's the vertebrate and invertebrates from the level 2 award and certificate. That is built into the core qualification. And then there will be this techniques for management of pests. And this will be your practical assessment. Now, obviously, the vertebrates and invertebrates are leveled at level 2. So the techniques for management at pest will be a level 3, and it will be the majority of the qualification. So the total qualification time will be a majority at level 3, which means we can bring this qualification into a level 3. It does mean that if you want to come onto the new qualification framework, like I say, it's a choice. You just need to do that competency. And as I mentioned earlier, we already work to a level 3 standard. So the competency will just be about what you are doing in your jobs and assessing that you can do that job professionally. This is where we're at with a draft for the core qualification. And now we're going to start putting some detail in it and start working through that process to really bring that specification together and start putting some meat on the bones for the qualification. Bird, we will do the same. At the minute, we've got a working title for the bird qualification, which is the level 3 award or certificate. That'll be dependent on total qualification time in pest bird management. That's the working title. It will be a broad qualification and it's going to cover things like surveying, health and safety, management of bird programs, installation of proofing materials, clearances. There will be section on falconry potentially. And then things like lethal control of birds. So they're the type of things that it's going to look at. It's not an exhausted list, and as you can see, it's quite a broad. So, installing proofing materials, that can be quite broad. So we'll start working on some of the detail, but that's the sort of information that's coming out of that meeting so far. We'll take that away. We'll start building learning outcomes for these sections, and they will then form the sort of foundations of the specification. Take falconry, for instance. So this is something that I got asked recently. The qualification won't teach you how to be a falconer, but it will give you enough information so you can do integrated pest management of bird control. And obviously falconry could be a key part of that. The idea of these qualifications are that they will give you the foundational knowledge. And then if you want to specify, so if you want to do bird management and then a few years down the line, you go, actually, I quite like the idea of doing falconry. You can then go and specify in falconry at that point. And the wildlife group, as I said, have only just met this week. So we will start sort of progressing these. Just wanted to show this because it gives you an idea on what the process is. So wildlife management is very new. We're just sort of we're working on that qualification. The bird one has a little bit of information in it, and we're starting to put some detail in that. And the core one is a little bit more advanced because we've got a draft specification that we can then start reviewing and working on as a group. If you're already qualified, the transition is fairly straightforward. So you keep your vertebrate and invertebrate qualifications from your level 2 award, and then you just need to do techniques of techniques for for the management of pests, and that will be your bridging qualification into the new qualification framework. And again, it's going to be a practical assessment of your skills. I think I've mentioned everything that I need to for that. Techniques for management of pests. So what will it cover? It's going to look at things like, what do you do at the start of your treatment? So that could be things like health and safety. It might be risk assessments, things like that. It might be environmental risk assessments. It might be carrying out a survey. So that's going to look at the tasks that you perform at the start of your treatment. It will look at the techniques for management of pests. And again, these are quite broad titles because it will encompass lots of different things, and it's your opportunity to show your skill, so that they are quite broad at the minute. There will be more detail in the specification, but as you can see, techniques for management of pests, it allows you to have a choice and work out how to solve a problem in the best way. Communicating outcomes of pest management techniques to stakeholders, so that's going to be things like reporting. And then opportunity of continued professional development activities in pest control. Now, CPD is a big talking point at the minute. Obviously, it's not been something that's mandatory before, but now moving forward with crew, it is going to be a mandatory requirement that we do CPD. One of the reasons to have CPD in a qualification is for a long time, just having a qualifications not being recognized as being able to say you're professional. So just by having that qualification, it's difficult to say that you've kept it up. You could have done a qualification 20 years ago, gone off and worked in other industries, come back. Because you did a qualification 20 years ago, doesn't still mean you're a professional pest controller. So CPD allows us to say that you've done your qualification and you've kept up to date with it, and it's allowed you to then continue to be a professional pest controller. So that's why that gets mentioned in qualifications like this. If you're new to the industry, there will be a pathway. So anyone new coming into the industry will do a level 2 qualification. There will be a level 1. I'm going to touch on that in a second, but most people that come into the industry will do this level 2 qualification. At the minute, we've got the safe use of rodenticides. It's likely that we would have a safe use of insecticides, which would be a new qualification. And again, it would just give you that training and information to get out there and start doing pest control safely and effectively. So it's a really good introductory qualification to have. So that'll be there. And then we've also got health and safety and legal aspects. Now, at the minute, this is done as part of your award qualification. There is an opportunity at level 2 to either have that as a standalone qualification. So there may be 3 qualifications at level 2, or we may be able to incorporate the health and safety and legal aspects into the rodent qualification and the insecticide qualification. The insecticide qualification is going to be a new qualification, so the industry can build that how it would like. And the rodenticide qualification already exists, but they do come up for review. So it may be that when it comes up for review, there may be changes that we could do to that, just to make it a slightly different qualification to what it is now. But we'll see what that process is like. With the level 2 qualification, just like we did with the level 3 qualification, it will be a long process to get to the detail because we will go out to consultation. And I do encourage everybody when we go out to consultation on all the qualifications that you do get involved and put your feedback into the consultation so that we can help drive the qualifications in the right direction. So this was new entries. Anyone that's done the qualifications at level 2 can then obviously progress to level 3, and this will be on the new framework as well. So let's have a little journey. This is the qualification framework. and what the vision is at the minute. As I said, only level 3 is being worked on. Levels 1, 2, 4, and 5 will go out to consultation. We'll have discussions around them, and we'll create them qualifications from that feedback. And we'll incorporate. So if you're currently level 3 qualified or certified advanced technician, there will be an option for you to move into a level 4 qualification. If you are a field biologist qualification, that will then move into the new framework as well. So whatever qualifications you've got now, we will build them into the new qualifications, so there is a progressive route. Also, by incorporating the current qualifications in the new qualifications, it means that that qualification still exists. If we'd have created a suite of new qualifications with no transition, you'd basically turn off the qualifications you've got, which is what we don't want to do. It is a choice, and if you choose to come into the new framework, that's entirely up to everyone's individual circumstances. I've had conversations with people that are a few years away from retiring, and the question was, do I have to do it? No, if you don't need to, because it's not something that's going to affect your day-to-day work, you don't need to. We would obviously encourage everybody to, because then it sits on the new framework and it's easier to see and understand. And I think personally, I would like to be rewarded for the complexity of the job that I do. So I would like to sit on the new framework so that I can have that new leveling of qualification that matches what I do. So the level 1, this will be like a pest awareness type training. It might be a couple of hours, half a day, something like that. It's going to be aimed at someone that's coming into the industry that's got no previous experience, got no idea what the industry looks like, and they want a sort of soft entry into pest control. It could also be for people that are on site. So if you've got say a cleaner that's on a site, and it'd be beneficial for them to have some basic pest control knowledge, they may do a pest awareness. And people that like manage contracts, they might also want to do this sort of level 1 course. It just gives them an introduction to pest control, and it will sort of help them understand pests, a little bit about identification, to help with that process. Moving on from that, we've got the level 2. You can either go from a level 1 to a level 2, or if you are coming into the industry, it makes sense to just start at a level 2, because you're already working in the industry. You already know a bit about pest control. You've probably gone through a week of introductions. Can't say that word. And you've already got a bit of information as to what the pest control industry is about. So you've kind of already had that pest awareness training just by coming into the industry. So you would do your level 2 qualifications. This would give you all the training and information to get out there and practice. Probably going to be done within the first few months of starting in the industry. And if we have a rodenticide and insecticide qualification, and then the health and safety and legislations built into it, right at the start of you starting in pest control, you've gained a large amount of knowledge that allows you to go out there and actually learn it. And we all know from pest control that the first 2 or 3 years, you learn every single job you go on. I remember the first year I started in pest control, probably rang my service manager every day asking, am I doing this right? Because you just don't know, you're not sure. So that qualifications will give you the information to get out there and do the job safely and effectively and correctly, with your legal aspects in there as well. But it allows you to gain experience. Once you've gained that experience, you can then move on to your level 3. This will be the sort of core qualification for the industry. So currently, if you've got a level 2 award, you could do a level 3. And like I mentioned, at level 3, we will have options for bird management and wildlife management. So people that just do birds and just do wildlife management will now have a qualification that they can do at level 3. Some of the things that are probably going to be built into this. So a mandatory prerequisite might be a level 2. And the other thing that could be into this is recommended experience. Now, this level 3 has a practical qualification part of it. So you have to demonstrate your skills and knowledge. And to be able to do that, it's probably recommended that you have at least 6 months experience. When I used to deliver the level 2 award in pest management, anyone that had sort of a year's experience around that always found it a lot more understandable when they went through the training, because they've had that experience. They've had a season. If you start in October and try to pass your exam in April, you've not had a season of summers, a summer season. So you've missed out that key sort of insect time, and you might find the insect section a little bit difficult. So by having a level 2 and giving you some time to go out and learn, you gain some experience before doing your level 3. Level 4, again, maybe a prerequisite that you do the level 3 beforehand. But you can, obviously, if you do level 3, progress to a level 4. This will be seen as an advanced qualification. And anyone that's currently got a level 3 award in pest management or the certified advanced technician, you can transition into the new level 4 qualification. There will be a bridging qualification for you there. And then the level 5, this will sit at a field biologist level at the minute. Again, these will all go out to consultation, but that's what it's looking like. Field biologist will sit into the level 5. Do keep in mind that these are being developed, but it may be time before they're released. So as we go through the process, I will try and keep everyone up to date as much as possible. But if you are new or just doing qualifications or want to do more qualifications now, please continue to do qualifications. Nothing's going to change in the immediate future. It could be, if we get one qualification ready, it might be 2 years before we release it. It could be up to 5 years before this framework is fully completed and all the qualifications are released as a suite. So we don't know what that process is going to look like at the minute. So if you are doing qualifications, please continue to do qualifications as they are. There will be a bridge into the new qualifications framework, so you can upgrade at that point if you want to. One last thing from me, this autumn, probably coming in the next few weeks, we will be going out to consultation on the level 4 qualification. Please get involved with that consultation. It really does help us in how we build these qualifications. We want them to be built by the industry for the industry because they have to work. It's a long-term plan that these qualifications will be around for a long time, and hopefully it will, professionalize the industry, give a clear pathway, and allow us to have easy discussions around how professional the pest control industry is. So level 4 consultation is coming. Please do get involved with that consultation. I think I've run over slightly. Thank you for listening. I hope that was helpful.
John, I'm going to come on and give you a little break from speaking. So I'll ask you some questions. There are some awkward ones in there, so you are going to get thrown and under the spotlight a little bit. But they are what people are asking. So in the next 6 minutes before we have a little coffee break, let's try and get through some of these answers. Some of them are from earlier on, so John may have answered your questions as he's gone through, but we'll go through quick answers and see what we can get to. So the first one, is my BPCA level 3 certificate still valid?
BPCA level 3 certificate, is that an older qualification? The best way to know if a qualification is still valid is if you go on the Think Wildlife website, go in the qualification section, there is a list of grandfathered qualifications. Any of those qualifications have been seen to be deemed to still be suitable for the industry. So if you've got a DIP 1 or anything like that, you will be able to.
I'm wondering if they mean an RSPH level 3.
Could be. If it's an RSPH level 3, yes, definitely, because that will be built into the new level 4 qualification.
Okay, the next one is more of a statement, but I know it's been put out there, so let's have an answer. I think we're making it harder for people to join the industry, and it comes across as a training revenue money-making scheme. Let's have an answer, John.
So that comes up quite a lot. What I will say is it doesn't make, like, if you think it's a BPCA money-making scheme, never going to work because all the qualifications at the minute are set with individual people. The new qualification framework, as I mentioned, will be open to everybody. So every centre on the RSPH will be able to deliver them qualifications. There is going to be no different to the new qualifications to what they already is. So if you come into the industry, you'll do a level 2 qualification. You will then do your level 3 qualification. It's no different to doing a safe use rodenticide to doing a level 2 award. It's the same process. It's just going to be a different level of qualification. So that's not going to change, the sort of amount of qualifications, as it were, that you do. You might have to do an extra qualification at level 2, but that's not been determined yet. Yeah, so it's just what it does is it moves the qualifications into a progressive pathway. So it's the same qualifications we've already got. We're not really creating anything new apart from the bird and wildlife, which we don't already have. But it allows you to do a level 2. It allows you to do a level 3, which is the award and certificate now. The level 4 will be the CAT or the current level 3 RSPH, and the field biologist will be a level 5. So it's not really much different to what it is now. It's just a progressive pathway that's numbered 1 to 5.
Wonderful, thank you. There is somebody saying if they can still buy their products with their level 2, what's the benefit to them resitting their exams at my time of life?
Perfectly up to you. It's your choice. There's lots of reasons for doing it. I would like to be recognized for the complexity that I do in my job within this industry, which is why I would like to transition to the new qualification framework. If it doesn't affect you, you don't have to. It may be that because this is very easy to understand that specifiers might change in the future. But like I said, you can change at any point that you want. So if you choose to look at it from an outside now and go, not really going to buy into this right now, that's fine. But in 2 years' time, if something changes and they say you need to have a level 3 to buy rodenticides, you can just do that transition. And like I say, the transition is what you do day to day, so it shouldn't be difficult to transition into the new qualification framework.
Okay. One of the questions is about transition here. So what are the requirements for the transition? And I guess we're not at that point.
Not at that point yet. It will be a practical assessment. We know that. And it will look at the skills that you do as part of your job. The industry is already a level 3 industry. It's complicated enough as it is to say that we are a level 3, the qualification should be at a level 3 for the industry. We just need to demonstrate that skills. So it might be going to a class, it might be going to a classroom and doing a assessment, or it might be that you do a portfolio. So you just record that you do pest control and you record your treatment reports and what you've done, take pictures, and then that can be your evidence for that qualification. We don't know yet, but likely what it's going to be.
And there's somebody here just saying they've just done their level 2 and found it relatively easy. So I suppose
I mean, if you've got experience, you will find that the level 2 is easy. What I find difficult is that you can do a level 2 award with no previous experience at the minute. And as that is seen as our core qualification, it's difficult to professionalize an industry when you can do a qualification with no experience. It's much better that the new qualifications have that sort of recommended experience piece in there, and it's assessing skills.
Wonderful. Again, I think this one was answered, but they are currently midway through their level 3 qualification. Will it still stand? So you said carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the specification may be ready by middle of next year. Can't say for definite when, but it might not be released. It might be 2 years, it might be 5 years. It all depends on how we release these qualifications. You will have somewhere in the region of a year from when we announce we're going to release it to when it actually is the qualification for the industry, because there's got to be a process of removing or allowing people to do the qualifications they're currently doing before we start the new qualifications. So there will be a lot of lead time in this.
Wonderful. I've got a couple of questions now about specialism, so let's try and mash these together a little bit. If your work consists of 2 of the 3 within your working group, will you get 2 qualifications?
Yeah, so the idea is that the qualification is going to have to be broad, because we have to, as I mentioned earlier in specifications, we have to make sure that a professional pest controller can deal with any pest. They may not be able to do it then, but they need to have knowledge. So if you come across, let's say you're doing the bird qualification and you come across insects that are associated with birds' nests, then you would need to know some information about insects. So that's going to have to be within that bird qualification. It might not be that you deal with them insects, but part of dealing with birds means that you will have to have a broad qualification. So they will be broad, but they will be in slightly different detail. So if you do a general pest control qualification at level 3, it's mainly going to be around general pest control. If you do a bird qualification, it's probably going to be an overlap, but it'll be a deeper dive into birds, just the same as wildlife. If you do a wildlife qualification, it'll be a deeper dive into wildlife, and there may be other things that it'll point you in the right direction to, like DSC1, DSC2, if you want to do deer management. So they will all, them 3 qualifications, although they will be broad, they will be geared towards the job that you're doing.
Okay. I'm going to pick one more because we are now up to time, and there are a lot of people that probably want to go and grab a cup of tea. So last one, does a qualification in one specialism preclude you from working to a level 3 in a different one?
No. When I started pest control, I did a general pest control qualification. I worked in pest control for about 4 years, and then I realized that I loved doing sort of wildlife, and I lived in the countryside, and it made sense that that's what I wanted to do. If you come into the industry and you start, let's say you start with a company you go through your level 2, do your level 3 in general and work in general pest control. If 5 years later you decide, actually, I'd really like doing wildlife, you can go and do the wildlife qualification if you want to, and that would just give you a deep dive into that. So yeah.
Thank you. Now, I know we've not got to you all, so John's email address is john@bpca.org.uk. Please pop him an email with any questions if you think we've not answered them. If you didn't pop your hand up or get involved within that Q&A box, send them to John. He will happily reply to you.
And if anything comes up in the notes, I'll have a look after the forum today. But if anything comes up, I'll try and do like a social media video, something like that, and I'll try and get out to everybody to answer any sort of other questions that have popped up.
Wonderful. I'll leave them live on there, so if you do get a chance to type any answers as well, feel free to do so. And I'm going to let everybody go and get a cup of tea now before we start again after the break.
Yeah. Are we coming back at 10 past?
We are.
Yep. So everyone back at 10 past 11, please, and I'll see you then.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.